Looks like everyone's here. So, hey, fellas.
So Phyllis, you can unmute and start the meeting.
Where are we?
I think Phyllis is still muted.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Okay, welcome to the meeting. It's March 23rd, 2021. The time is 4:02 or 4 o'clock. Can we do the roll call? Is Ginger here to do that?
Yes, I am.
Hello.
Hello, committee member Grasso.
She's there, but
You might want to unmute her, Jinder.
Yeah.
if you can.
I'm here.
Committee member Kellogg,
Present.
committee member Lee,
Present.
committee member Pruitt,
He's muted.
Muted.
I'm here.
okay, Chair Brinkerhoff,
here. So I guess we have to go through how, if anybody should show up, how they can participate. Gender,
yes, we actually have one attendee. So good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through Zoom or by telephone at 669-900-9128. And the meeting ID is 982-731-53044#. If you are watching the meeting on Zoom and wish to provide public comment, please select the raise hand feature either on the bottom of your screen or through the participants icon. If you are participating by telephone and wish to provide public comments, please press *9 when the chair opens the public comment period. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
are there any amendments to the evening's agenda? So we approve the minutes of the November 30th meeting. Any comments on the minutes?
I don't remember receiving them, so Ginger, could you send those back to me?
Yes, I can email those to you right now.
I won't be able to pick them up, so it's not important.
They're part of the packet that we sent the link to. So it's all one document.
Okay. I'm negligent here. I'm sorry, folks.
I move to accept the minutes.
Well, actually, if nobody has any questions about the minutes, because we have one attendee, I can invite the attendee to make any comments if they have any. Okay. If you wish to provide public comment and are watching this meeting through Zoom, please use the raise hand function to let us know you would like to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to provide public comments, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. So I'm just waiting to see if this person raises their hand. Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so we can continue to approve the minutes.
So do we need another motion to approve the minutes?
I can remove to accept the minutes.
A second.
Is there a second?
Can I second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Jinder, do you need to take roll?
Yes,
I
thank you.
suppose
Thank you
so.
for the reminder, Susan.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take roll now. Committee Member Grasso. She is asked to unmute.
She's on, okay.
I approve.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Committee Member Kellogg,
Approve.
Committee Member Lee,
No vote.
Committee Member Pruitt,
I approve.
and Chair Brinkhoff.
Approve.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go.
Any staff? We're reviewing the report, so Henry, are you going to go over it?
So the next item 2 is public comment. So the chair opens for public comment and then Jinder can read his spiel again.
All right, I will go ahead and read that. If you wish to provide public comment and are watching this meeting through Zoom, please use the raise hand function to let us know you would like to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to provide public comments, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you're unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so I think we can continue.
So is it Henry's turn to go over the report? Review the.
Thank you, Chair Brinkerhoff. Seeing no public comments, we'll move to matters before the committee, the review of fiscal year 2021 second quarter annual revenue expenditure report. The second quarter was October, November, December. The fiscal year starting on July 1st. I'm going to share my screen momentarily to give you a view of the spreadsheet that was the last item in the packet, which gives a snapshot of this year compared to last year. A couple of facts about the library budget in general. So The general fund portion of the budget is 70% of the library's total operations. Measure D, the parcel tax, is 29%, and 1% of our funding it comes from the Friends of the Library. Due to the COVID crisis that started in the previous fiscal year and it's continued to the current one. This time last year, we were in the previous fiscal year, the 1920 year. That we're still recovering from that in the current fiscal year. And you'll notice when I pull up this spreadsheet, some very obvious differences between last year and this year. We remain, and as an aggregate for both funds, slightly underspent, and we're much more underspent in Measure D. And generally, I'd like you to know that we're trying to conserve those Measure D funds because they actually roll over to the next year. And we're actually right now trying to spend more of the general fund, which is a traditional budget that we get from the city, that if we don't spend it, it basically goes away. And those of you that have been on the committee for a while will remember some of the budget areas that we've traditionally been overspent on or continue today, mainly those MarinNet costs that are fixed costs for library automation with our online catalog and other contractual services that those costs keep rising, but the amount of money we have to devote to that is limited, and you'll see that in the budget. And so apart from that, nothing is hugely different. The big difference between last year and this year is because of the COVID crisis. We had a hiring freeze. We've had a lot of unfilled positions. There was a 5% reduction across the board due to furloughs in our represented and non-represented employees. And we've had 3 frozen positions in the upcoming year's budget and that are reflected in this year's budget. Also, some of you may be aware of the conceptual design project we're running right now for the new library and community center, conceptual design in Albert Park. And that conceptual design cost of $81,924 is coming out of the Measure D set aside, I believe.
Henry, can you present the spreadsheet? So
Yeah,
that we
I'm
can-
going to bring it up right now. Here we go. Sorry. There we go. Sorry, thanks for your patience. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So I've got it full screen. Can you see my little mouse hand here? Moving about? No?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to draw your attention to is in the lower left column, the purple column in the farthest left is what we had budgeted for last year for general fund. See that 3,300,000? And then this year we're a lot lower than that, 2,600,000. And that's due to some of the cuts from the COVID crisis. If you go to the middle column where it's the pink header, you'll see that's the parcel tax in the middle. The budget at the top, fiscal year 21, is about $1 million. And our normal budget for the library is 4 million. So it's like the parcel tax is 29% of that, roughly a quarter-ish. And you'll see in the lower right of that central column, series of columns, there's actually 6 there, that we're 35% expended at half of the fiscal year. So we're behind on spending Measure D money, but that's not a bad thing given the sort of budget challenges we have or we're facing or have been facing since about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. And then we traditionally combine the general fund and the parcel tax to get a snapshot of overall how expended we are, how well we're doing with regards to like a 50% target is what we'd like to see at halfway through the fiscal year. And this represents the books at the end of December. So soon we'll have the third quarter, but there's a 46% number there, which is not that far off, but still it's an anomalous budget year and anomalous quarter. I mentioned the MarinNet, the fixed costs, which are contract services, which at the top you'll see personnel services in the top 3 lines across the top. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line down says contract services, MarinNet, security, etc. You'll see that's 90% expended. And that's also because we pay that as a lump sum at the beginning of the year each year. And that's just the sort of how the billing works. You'll notice also at the top 3 lines, regular hire, salaries and benefits, extra hire. That's our total of personnel services, which is most of the budget, let's say. That in the general fund, we're 46% expended, and while with Measure D, the parcel tax, we're 36% expended. Measure D money is very tightly kind of integrated with the overall running of the library. It includes costs for personnel, costs for collections, costs for programming supplies, and also for digital services. By law, it cannot include any building improvements. So if you look at building maintenance contracts, maintenance building improvement, maintenance requiring equipment, in the Measure D section of budget, that's all 0 because it's not included in the allowed costs. And if we were to spend Measure D money, that would be in violation of the ordinance that created Measure D. Also, on the lower left, you'll see various donation funds that the library is lucky enough to be in receipt of. Some of you have been on the committee for a while, may remember, and some that are new will be surprised to see, hopefully in a positive way. There's the Robert and Lorraine Hoses Memorial Fund of 1.3 million. Kenneth Edlin was generous enough to donate almost a little more than 400,000. The Kay Corlett Memorial Fund we've had for some time. And below that, you'll see the Measure D parcel tax capital set aside. That had been a set aside from the previous parcel tax Measure C that topped out at 500,000 and has been depleted since then for the previous Noel and Tam study on the new library facilities planning process, looking at the 3 areas of San Rafael, providing options for all those 3 areas. The current study with the conceptual design has not been billed or subtracted from any of these figures to date. But the Measure D parcel tax fund balance is the number below the capital set aside. And that's what I was referring to with the money that we don't spend in this fiscal year, that we save will go into the fund balance. So it will be sort of fiscally prudent and beneficial if we, and I expect we will not expend all of Measure D this year. That's the high points for today. And now, what's the next thing on the agenda? Are we open for questions? Yeah, I think it's questions. Chair invites questions and answers from trustees. Shall I stop sharing my screen or keep this up because it's useful for people to see?
That's useful for me. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. So under this, in the little orange box,
Yeah,
the Measure D parcel tax fund balance, is that where that 81,924 is coming out of? The number 8, the new library conceptual design cost?
I believe so. And based on, in my report, I had a specific budget line that I referred to. And as part of the approval of the conceptual design, that money was made available to us. The budget line, Ginger, that's 215-11-001-9270.
Yes, it's contractual services. So if you look across the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing showing there right now for Measure D.
So my understanding was that the city would transfer that money into the contractual services line like they did for the previous, to make it available for us to spend.
Okay, so
The mechanics behind that, yes.
so that will bring that number up by 81,000. Up there, it's now showing nothing or 90, yeah, 0.
Yeah, as part of the mid-year budget adjustments that haven't been made yet, we expect to see that in the next quarter's spreadsheet. I would expect to see that then.
Okay, then I have one more comment. I think I mentioned this
Cool.
before on this. Also in the orange box, the Friends of the Library, you're showing $10,000 for the current, it's actually 23,710.
Yes, thank you for that correction. I believe we were estimating at the time and we hadn't received the updated number. And our fail share, we made a mistake and we'll update that for the next one. Thank you. And the Friends, we so appreciate your support of our programs and services, especially the Friends were instrumental in supporting the Zip Book program when we were totally shut down, and also supporting us with a Zoom account, which was like vital in providing like online programming. So thank you, Friends.
Is that it?
Other questions?
Yeah, Henry, how are you on full-time equivalents?
I believe the library's previous staffing was at 24-ish, and we're down like we have 3 positions frozen, which are 1.5 FTE approaching, and 5 unfilled that are budgeted that are about 3-point-something FTE. So we're hovering a little below 20, I believe, right now. We also employ a large degree of temporary workers that have been slashed drastically. Actually, all of them were not employed after the initial shelter in place, and we've brought back a small number of them. But our FTE, I think, is about I'd have to run the calculations again, but it's down like around right below 20, I believe, at the current time, if not fewer. We, as a budget savings across the city, there was a hiring freeze, and we just happened to have been doing a lot of like hiring at the time, and we had 5 open positions, and then 2 more people left during the crisis. We had 2 employees leave the organization. So we ended up with about 8 open positions, 3 of which are frozen, which means they're not budgeted in the next fiscal year.
Henry, you might want to share what we currently are doing though in regards to those other 5 positions.
So currently, we submitted a reopening plan and a staffing request where we've just released a recruitment like last week to fill 1 full-time librarian, 1 full-time senior library assistant, and 1 half-time library assistant. And we're running that's closing on the 31st, and we're running back-to-back panels to get those positions filled as quickly as possible. And we have authorization at the start of the fiscal year to fill another full-time senior library assistant and another part-time library assistant, which will be significant in kind of rounding out the staffing shortage at the library currently. And a couple of those positions are partially funded by Measure D, and some of them are only funded by general fund. But the library staff as a whole will benefit because everyone's been kind of like, you know, like in a crisis where you do more and you do different things and you kind of learn new things. And also many of a fair number of our staff have been working as DSWs or working with other departments to kind of support our response as a city to the COVID crisis. And it's kind of meant that everyone's had to kind of step up in a way, and having more staff to contribute to our response and getting back to normal will be very welcomed by, I think, the entire staff.
Thank
I'm
you.
curious,
I have another question. Go ahead.
I just was curious about the revenue line, which doesn't show anything for 2020.
Yeah. The revenue are fines, and I know we collected fines the previous year. That they've been dropping drastically. All collection of library fines stopped like right when COVID hit, and we stopped really circulating any books. I think that could be an oversight, but yes, we did collect fines in 2020, unless I'm wrong. Jinder, what about the fines in 2020?
Oh, I just didn't include those on the spreadsheet.
Yeah,
I I can do that for the next one if that's.
Yeah.
So
That's-
you're budgeted for $1.1 million in fines?
No.
Oh, I think, that in the middle, that's yeah, that's a mistake. That's the budgeted amount of Measure D, not the revenue. That's the revenue we receive from the parcel tax. So revenue and parcel tax is actual revenue. It's seen as revenue because people pay their parcel tax bill. It goes to the county, that we get it from the county, we have to pay them. So that is in the revenue column. Revenue and general fund is like fines.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it would be useful to have for comparison 2020 numbers in there.
Yeah, we should be more focused on revenue, but we're just a little less than we should be. But yeah, we'll correct that for the next quarter's budget report. We're also experimenting. I think this has been the third time we've used this new format where we have the previous and the present year's budget, though a little more complex. I think it provides like a comparison that you're alluding to.
Henry, have you seen any increase in people over 65 withdrawing from paying the taxes?
Interesting. It would be interesting to track that from year to year. We tend to try to not make too much of that. I believe there's a steady kind of stream of customers that seek our assistance in retrieving their that portion of their parcel tax. I wouldn't say that there's a decrease. I think the numbers kind of bear it out. Jinder handles that directly, so he could provide maybe some anecdotal evidence. I sense that there may be a little more challenge for people in submitting those requests during COVID and the chaos and this shelter in place. But my sense is that's a pretty steady thing, and it hasn't really decreased. Jinder, do you have any info on that?
So far, we've received about 70 senior exemptions in this fiscal year. But I don't have the number at the same time last year. I don't have the number, but I believe the total for last year was 100. So we're about the same, at the same rate as last year.
Good.
Also, I believe when property turns over in the city, it's sort of up to us to identify units that may no longer be eligible, but there's a lot of wiggle room there.
True.
Well, I'd like to also appreciate Jinder in his personal handling of all those requests. He offers like the highest degree of customer service, patience, and attentiveness in getting all the people that would like to kind of get their exemption in a timely basis, and explains to people who may not be eligible if they are not. And that's kind of like an ongoing challenge, and he meets it with the greatest degree of professionalism. Other questions?
Yes, I'm in the orange box on the lower left. Are there any initiatives being studied to pursue this generosity among the public?
Yes, no and yes. I believe that this comes up from time to time, and I think that it would be useful for us to sort of build it into our public relations approach. I've seen other library systems like Kitsap County has a little flyer that says, make Kitsap County part of your estate planning decisions. Kind of subtle, not too forward, to just kind of make people aware that they could give money to the library if they want to. We're not very overt in asking for money, but just kind of, I think that the approach would be a very subtle one to just say, if you're interested in this, here's the information. I believe apart from that, we haven't really done anything proactive with regards to that.
It may be a little premature until the decision, when and if a decision is made about a new and exciting library.
Yeah, I think that specifically around the building program, that's a time when you know, the foundation, for example, might hire a professional fundraiser, and more awareness would be happening about this as a thing people could contribute to. But at the same time, just the ongoing operations and the sort of abstract idea of a public library, sometimes it's very inspiring for people that want to donate. So I think both are happening.
Right.
I think there should be a great opportunity to reach out by educating the public about what the library does, in particular in outreach towards disadvantaged children and the types of services that they get, which I think might be a compelling story for someone that's looking for estate planning to consider that.
Yeah, I agree. Like to date, the foundation's annual appeal letter is a little more narrowly focused about a new library building. But I think an appeal in terms of like estate planning, it would make complete sense in terms of just the ease of doing it and the potential benefits. So we'll put that on the list. Additional questions? And that it's the member of the public asked to if they have things to say.
Yes, I can go ahead and read the script. If you wish to provide public comment and are watching this meeting through Zoom, please use the raise hand function to let us know you would like to speak. If you are participating by telephone and wish to provide public comments, please press *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything, so I believe we can continue.
Should I stop staring my screen?
I think you can. You're not looking at it now, are you?
So the chair requests staff to respond to questions raised during public comment. No public comment. And maybe the chair would ask the committee if there are additional comments.
Are there additional comments? Peter? No?
No,
Greg?
So this being an informational report, there's no need to make a motion. And I think that concludes the agenda for this afternoon. We'll be reaching out to the committee with another doodle for the next meeting. If that's working well for people, we can continue to do that. Or we can maybe make it an item for the next meeting to plan the rest of the year. Just think about it.
My guess is the end of the year is going to feel a lot different than it does right now. Might be hard to plan for that.
Yes. So thanks everyone for making the time. We appreciate you serving on this board. The community appreciates it, and the city council does, and I do, and Susan does. And thanks to Jinder for setting it up and making this all work. And thanks again to the Friends for providing Zoom for us. And so I guess we'll be talking to you in a month or so when we have for the next third quarter of the 2021 fiscal year.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hasta luego.